All right, team, we're here to talk about oysters. You want to know why? Because they make the difference between a busy, happy winter where we make enough money to keep the doors open and everybody happy, or we could be crickets. So I'm doing this to keep everybody, give a little cheat sheet on back why oysters are important in the winter and how to talk to our customers about them. So I'm doing this pretty quick, try to keep it under 5 minutes, maybe more than 5 minutes. Local oyster refresher bullets. Let's look at this first slide. All right, so these are some bullets to think about. Our waters have cleaned up since Florence, and the state have deemed them safe for shellfish harvest. So Florence problems are behind us. Rest assured that all the people that go check water quality have said, hey, we're good to go. So guys are oystering, and we have oysters in the markets. Customers, the one thing to remember about this town, customers have been buying and eating local oysters for generations, and they are a persnickety, price-conscious market. We're in a price-conscious, persnickety market. And there's multiple places for people to buy oysters, so here's some tips to remember when talking to these experts about our oysters. The way we sell our oysters are based on what they look like, and all of our local oysters, which are local select singles, local clusters, and local standard singles, are harvested from Beaufort to the South Carolina line. That's Beaufort, North Carolina to the South Carolina line. They're always salty, so you can if it's a local oyster, it's always salty. When we have a lot of rain, they're going to be less salty. When we have a dry spell, they're going to be more salty because rainwater affects what they taste like. There's a harvest tag in every bushel, and that shows exactly where the oyster was harvested. People will ask for stump sounds, topsail clusters, topsail select singles, etc., because a lot of our competitors sell them by the catch location. You can tell them that we buy from different harvest locations in southeastern North Carolina and sell them based on what they look like. And we do this so we have a good depth chart of oystermen and locations to buy from, and not pigeonhole our supply to specific locations that may run low, produce subpar oysters, or have a lack of harvesters. So this gives us a big, diverse group of oyster men and women to buy from. The main thing to remember is we're always aiming to please. All right, we're not trying to be old, salty, asshole fishmongers. We're here to listen to customer stories, questions. We don't lie about them. We go over above with service, so that everybody knows, hey, go to those Seaview people. They're always good. We want to ring that in people's heads. So let's move on to the next slide. Next slide. This is oyster packing. All right. We want to always measure oysters to a flat top oyster box. That's what we're going to call. That is what a bushel is. Those boxes are bushel boxes. We don't go big rounded bushel. It's a nice flat top box. And oysters in the bag are always unmeasured, and a full bushel is a flat top box. Remember that. Don't just dump oysters out of a bag and say that's a bushel, because sometimes bushels could be light, bushels can be heavy, and we want to be consistent every time we give them. If we're doing something a half a bushel or a peck or a half peck, always measure them out to give accurate volume measurements. We don't want to ever screw our customers, and we certainly don't want to screw ourselves. What I'd like y'all to do is review, the different ways to talk to customers about how many people a bushel, half bushel, peck will feed for each type. Clusters are going to go a lot, not as far as a select single when it comes to how many oysters in a bushel, and you need to be able to talk to customers about that. Know how to help customers with all add-ons, so know our oyster knives, seasonings, butter, etc. So people ask for things, we know where to find them, and what's the one you like the best, or what people might like the best. Know how to tell customers how to cook their oysters, steam them, grill them, bake them over an open fire, how to throw an oyster roast. And if you don't know, ask the senior fishmongers you're working with, because we want to be experts. We want to know that people understand that they come to us, we're going to tell them exactly what they need to do to enjoy local oysters. Always double check that a customer is satisfied with your wash job before you give them. If you're out there washing oysters, make sure that the customer sees like, hey, is this wash good enough for you, before you give them, because every year inevitably we get complaints about oysters not being washed good enough. So you want to tell them, hey, is this good enough for you? If not, run them again. Always be accurate with special orders. If it's a big order, check with the manager before accepting. You always want to be aware of that. And when you're taking special orders, you say washed or not washed, because if they're traveling with them, going to eat them in 2 days, remember, they don't want to wash them. We want to wash them if they're going to eat them that night. If they insist they're going to eat them in 2 days, that's fine, but it makes them more volatile to dying because the mud helps them stay alive. Our oyster tags, we must keep them for the state, so never give oyster tags to a customer. Always look to remove dead oysters from a batch before giving to a customer, especially on the top layer. If you see a dead oyster, pull it off. If one that's broken in the washer, pull it off. It's always important to rotate your inventory. Let a manager know if a bushel that you pull out to wash for somebody is supposed to be singles and looks all clustered. Don't just give it to the customer. Ask for a second opinion, or and let a manager know so we can relay it up to our main buyers. Always be hungry. The most important thing is always be hungry to sell oysters. They are lifeblood in the fall, winter, and early spring. There's a difference between being profitable and busy, or slow and losing money. We want to be everyone's go-to for local oysters in this town, and every customer experience should reflect that we're hungry for their business. Now, just a few little notes about what our oysters are. All right, so we sell local, and we also, from time to time, we'll have Maryland oysters, Virginia oysters, Gulf oysters, Pamlico Sound oysters, but our main three types are local oysters, and here's how they break down. One is the local select single. Those are going to be the biggest single, rockiest oysters we sell each week. Some weeks they could be huge, some weeks they could be medium large, but they're always nice single rocks. You might get a double in there from time to time, but it's not. They're harvested and pulled out of the mud as singles. And that's what people ask for stump sound singles. These are what the people typically want. That's what a stump sound oyster is, a rocky single oyster, but we have different bodies of water that grow oysters just like the stump sound. Local standard singles, they're more blade-like. They're not as rocky. They're longer. We typically cull them out of a mixed cluster single bushel, and they're medium size. Sometimes they can be big, but most of the time they're medium. And they're the same type of oysters that our competitors might sell as a topsail select single. The third option is the local cluster oysters, and these are blade oysters that grow together into clumps, 3+ oysters in a bundle. And competitors sell these as usually topsail clusters. The main thing to remember is all local oysters are salty, and like I said earlier, if it rains recently, they will be less salty. If we have a dry spell, they will be more salty. If a customer, an old salty customer, asks, "Hey, how salty are your oysters?" offer to shuck them one raw so that they can get confirmation. If it's not salty enough for them, then they won't buy them. If it is, they'll say, "Oh man, that's great. Let me buy it. I'll get a bushel." But the main thing is, don't aim to tell them what things are going to taste like. If they're especially questioning of you, let them tell you what they want, and then give them as much information to make an informed decision. If they want to know exactly where an oyster comes from, you can always use the tag and say, all right, this comes from C6. You go to the map, you say, see here, C6, and it's right by this inlet, so you can be assured that you're going to get a good salty oyster. That's all for my PowerPoint. The main thing is, y'all, is that, I just want to, the oysters are very important for the seafood business, and they have been forever. When fish stop running and crabs slow down, and shrimp stop being caught, oysters are going to get us through the winter. So I want everyone that works for us to be, know or even if you don't like oysters, know enough to tell people to get excited about them, because they are an important part of the local seafood industry, important for our business and for the customers that are going to come into our market, especially around the holidays. And you'll see, if you haven't worked the day before Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve or any of these big holidays, you will see just how important oysters are to this town, and they're very important for our reputation. And so anyway, my main point is, if you don't know, ask, educate yourself. Don't be a deer in the headlights when questions come about, and you'll get smarter. You'll get used to answering standard questions, because you can boil customer questions down to about 10 things. And once you know how to answer them, you'll be able to help them. And in the end, we're not selling anything. We're serving people, and we're giving them as much information that we have about our products so they can make good decisions for their families and their parties. I think that's all for now, y'all, but sell them up. If you have any questions of me, you can always text me, call me, or any of our managers have been working for 5-10 years in this business. They can help you as well. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate it.